This afternoon in the mother city. My name is Laranzo Temba and I'll be facilitating today's press conference. We are going to be led by the Minister of Police, who is going to be giving us his opening remarks, and of course we will hear from the Crime Registrar, the SAPS, around what the figures look like. But before we do that, let me just introduce the panel before us. We do have the Minister of Police, and by his side is his deputy, we also do have the National Commissioner of the SAPS, General Fani Masemola, and next to him is the Deputy National Commissioner of the Police Service, responsible for policing, and that's Lieutenant General Dibula Mosekidi, and our Crime Registrar to my left is Major General Sikukune, will be taking us through the crime figures this afternoon. With not much further delay, I'll invite the Minister of Police to please take us through his opening remarks. And after that, you will hear the crime figures. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Good afternoon, Deputy Minister, National Commissioner, Deputies, all Provincial Commissioners that are here, Regional Commissioners, the Acting Secretary, officers, and all heads of entities, media at large. The calls by South Africans on the police to decisively deal with crime are loud and they are clear. I stand here before you this afternoon supported by the full contingent of the SAPS management to say these calls by South Africans are not falling on deaf ears. The SAPS is and will continue to intensify intelligence-led operations to take down individuals or organized criminals hell-bent on terrorizing communities. We are enriched by the stabilization of the Crime Intelligence Division of SAPS through the appointment of a Divisional Commissioner with a wealth of policing and investigative experience. Lieutenant General Khumalo, your job is cut out for you and your team. While the crime figures we are releasing today don't paint an overall positive picture of the crime situation in our country, they do, however, show that police are pushing back on criminality through visible policing and disruptive operations. Plainly put, the more boots on the ground were not just a slogan. The impact have been felt and starting to make a difference in our communities. Investigations into mass shootings in the Eastern Cape, Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal have resulted in arrests in Bichi and Nomzamo, Pietermaritzburg and KwaNobuhle respectively. We welcome the 6 out of the 8 life sentences handed down by the Pietermaritzburg High Court on the Cliplands 8 who were behind the killing spree at the Durban hostel. The political task team investigating murders in KZN continues to arrest hitmen and those who order assassination on the political rival. Police are also cleaning their own house and rating the service of officers who choose to partner with rogue criminals elements. In this financial year, 46 police officers have been dismissed for various transgressions. With that said, we know and understand that police alone will not be able to drive out criminality on our streets, in our alleyways, in our homes, schools, and places of leisure and worship. We call on communities to take charge and be allies of safety. We are calling on residents of Mfuleni, Alexandra, Inanda, Seshego, Mitchells Plain, Diepsloot, Umlazi, and all other policing areas with stubborn crime patterns to be agents and activists against crime and criminality. Someone, somewhere, somehow knows something. Yes, it is the job of the police to prevent, combat, and investigate crime, assisted by better environmental design and better social conditions. A community-centered approach in the prevention and combating of crime will yield better results. We call on all South Africans to be part of safety partnership between civil society and community structures, religious and other organized groupings, business and law enforcement. The safety partnership means you are no longer a spectator, but an active player in keeping your community safe. The crime statistics figure released today reflect crime reported to the South African Police during October to December 2022. This reporting period includes the festive season period, where for the first time since COVID-19 reached our shores in 2020, there were no restrictions. Essentially, this is the first festive season with increased movement of people and high number of social gathering, including family gathering and celebrations. We preempted the increased festive season activities and the deployment of police to identified areas of concern were ramped up. The deployment included the project 10,000 new police constables who have and continue to increase the police footprints on the ground. It is encouraging that 10,000 more recruits will be trained in 2023 and join the police service at the end of the year. The third quarter crime figures show that while there are increases in conduct crimes such as murder, assault, and robberies, there is significant improvement in crimes detected as a result of police action. There are signs of improvement in crimes such as cash in transit heist and bank robberies, which have reported decrease in the period of reporting. These decreases are attributed to increased police visibility through patrols, stop and search operations, vehicle checkpoints and road blocks. 52,711 people were arrested for various crimes, including murder, sexual offences, assault, hijacking, as well as other serious crimes during the festive season. As part of responding to the calls by South Africans, the capacitation and resourcing of the SAPS to improve its services at the station level is ongoing. Discussions are underway within the security cluster to tighten the gaps and loopholes in the criminal justice system as a whole. This includes the bail regime and the role of parolees and ex-offenders are playing in the overall safety of citizens. We all agree that punishment should fit the crime and the justice system and law enforcement should collaborate better. At a cluster level, we are also engaging the issues of porous borders, which has a direct impact in policing. Over 13,000 illegal foreigners were arrested during the period of reporting. The SAPS management and this ministry have also had promising engagements with our counterparts from Lesotho and Mozambique around cross-border crimes and intensifying our collaboration on policing intervention. Over and above legislation to bolster police work, the Presidential Service Delivery Acceleration Program, Operation Vulindlela, is aimed at accelerating services delivery in the SAPS. We will further improve the effectiveness of law enforcement. The policing reforms aim to significantly and urgently transform the SAPS 10111 call centers, which remain the heart of communication between communities and the police. We cannot allow, National Commissioner, for a situation where South Africans are not able to reach police when they are in need of help. This is why the reforms will, among other things, address personnel shortages through a mass recruitment drive. Other technological advancement will be ushered in to ensure not a single call is not attended to. Operation Vulindlela reforms will also see the building and maintenance of police stations to ensure equal access to police services. And the reforms will urgently address obstacles experienced in SAP's garages across the country. We have no doubt that legislation amendments, policing reforms, and renewed and strengthening crime intelligence and partnership with communities will give crime a heavy blow. Funding is also a key component in our response to calls by South Africans. We are responding to the shortages of vehicles in the SAPs to improve the everyday work of police officers on the ground. However, the aftermath of COVID-19 has caused delay in delivery of police vehicles countrywide. More patrol vans and high-powered vehicles have been ordered to supplement visible policing and specialized units such as highway patrol, flying squad to respond effectively to crime. While integrated crime prevention and crime combating operations are critical in policing, this ministry is fast-tracking pieces of legislation aimed at closing gaps that are hampering on policing and laws that bolster police work. One such example is an amendment of the South African Police Act to strengthen the functioning of community policing forum. The amendment will ensure that CPFs are provided with some resources to enable them to function optimally. CPFs are the police's strongest link to communities and play an integral role in the safety partnership that we are calling on. To date, a total of 1,156 police stations in the country have active CPS. Another call we are responding to is the escalation of violent crime in our communities. These crime statistics show that 7,555 people were murdered between October and December 2022. Intense community-centered and intelligence-led solution is needed to fully address the proliferation of firearms. Again, someone, somewhere, somehow knows something. Police are also on the pulse in removing illegal weapons off our streets. In the past 12 months alone, police have permanently removed and destroyed 65,519 illegal firearms. The SAPs will continue to intensify operations to detect and remove illegal firearms and ammunition, while legislation intervention in the amendment to Firearms Control Act to address the availability of guns in our communities is underway. Out of 7,555 people murdered in the 3 months of reporting, 3,144 people were killed with firearms. 2,498 people were killed with other weapons such as knives, sharp and blunt instruments, bricks, in many cases even with bare hands. It is clear a broader conservation must be had about what is at the heart of violent crime in the country. While gun violence is problematic and poses a serious threat to lives and livelihoods, with the analysis of the current and previous statistics, it is quite evident that firearms are only part of bigger problem at the core of the matter. This is a human behavior and a human problem, which clearly indicates that even without firearms, many people still die. They do find the way of murdering people. We have to be honest as South Africans about the causes of violence and address them. High rates of unemployment and poverty levels, the mushrooming of informal settlements with little to no service and other socio-economic ills are breeding criminality, coupled by a high number of undocumented foreign nationals that are hard to trace after the commission of the crime. It is said, indlala, ibanga ulaka. The violence that is stalking communities is translated to increased number of assaults, which escalates to attempted murders and in some cases murder. The reality is Assaults are feeders of domestic violence and other violence crimes. 42 years old Given Vurum, who was found guilty of 10 counts of rape and robbery of women and young girls in Vuani in Limpopo. He was handed down 4 life sentences with an additional 135 years behind bars. Police are sharpening their responses to gender-based violence and femicide from an operational and legislative point of view. The Criminal Law Forensic Procedures Amendment Act, also referred to as a DNA Act, will come into operation on the 30th of March 2023. The DNA Act is a crucial weapon in the police arsenal of crime-fighting tools against GBVF, specifically with regard to the identification of offenders. This piece of legislation will remove serial rapists off our streets. In our resolve to ensure perpetrators of violence against women, children, and vulnerable groups are brought to book, from October to December 2022, 4,992 suspects were arrested for GBVF related. That is from October to December. During the same period of reporting, 71 accused were handed down 89 life sentences. 219 accused were sentenced between 1 to 9 years imprisonment, culminating to a total of 1,079 years behind bars. 143 accused were sentenced between 10 to 19 imprisonment, which is combined sentences of 2,063 years imprisonment, while 67 other accused were collectively sentenced to 20 years and more for GBFS-related crime. Fellow South Africans, it is alarming that a total of 5,935 rape incidents took place at the residence of perpetrator/victim, including residents known by victim's perpetrator. These are family, friends, and neighbors. We're trying to humble on this point time and again. And these 5,935, they were raped by the people they know from the places where they're supposed to be safe. We welcome the sentence of the killer of the 8-year-old Tarzan van Wyk, who was this week convicted to 9 life sentences and 259.5 years behind bars for the gruesome murder and rape of the young girl. The call on community to be allies against crime cannot be underestimated when it comes to the prevention and combating of GBV and femicide. It remains a betrayal of humanity to look away and ignore abuse and violence of anyone, let alone women, children, and other vulnerable groups in society. Taking a video on your cell phone and sharing it on social media cannot be a normal response to a pandemic that this country is grappling with. When you see something, say something and do something. Information from communities is crucial and can assist in police investigation. Members of media, the SAPS have cleared its historic DNA backlog. As of yesterday, 16 February 2023, the DNA backlog, which was initially over 241,000, is now at 1,600. This is 99.3% reduction in the country's DNA backlog figures. We have completed the building and capacitation of the laboratory in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape, which will drastically relieve pressure from the Western Cape laboratory going forward. As of today, the SAPS and NPA project has resulted in 25,599 prioritized GBVF-related court-ready cases, which have been successfully enrolled. Police are using what is at their disposal amid budget cuts and growing population to police a violent society. We thank the President and Treasurer for the new approach in prioritizing the massive recruitment in the SEPs and further capacitation of specialized units. This intervention will soon yield positive results in the overall fight against crime. The truth of the matter is that poverty and inequality and unemployment, coupled with little to no basic service, is impending on policy. That is why the Integrated Crime and Violence Prevention Strategy, recently adopted by government to address the drivers of crime, must be fast-tracked in order to boost safety and security in communities and the country as a whole. Police visibilities, provincial commissioners, will always work in your favor if we are to end the reign of criminals who are hell-bent on terrorizing communities. Results and desired outcomes can only be achieved if management leaves the offices and lead from the front in the streets. Operation Okai Malawi in Gauteng is a model that will be replicated and be made a national policing feature that brings fear to criminals and comfort to the law-abiding citizens. We are calling on provincial commissioners to take cue from Gauteng and intensify their provincial operations, focusing on troublesome stations and remove them from the top 30 high crime stations, both nationally and provincial. We just want to raise one thing. We can expand later, but as we are seated here today, there is an operation that started last night at about 11 at the place Malmesbury, where this naturalized former German citizen has been found in a house, found with 42 guns, with 2 vans full of bullets, and we are still working on opening other safes. He stays alone in this warehouse that is full of all these weapons. He's got the powder to refill the bullets. Is around here in Cape Town. So maybe while these guns, they cross the borders, they are stolen from police and others, stolen from household. It does look like drugs. People are beginning to produce their own around here. That is here in Western Cape. Maybe it does answer who supplies these so many bullets. We are saying police started at about 11 last night to count these bullets, haven't finished as we speak now. They are full in two vans, those bullets that are refilled in this house of this. It does look like it's a former military man that has been naturalized here. So then one will invite the honorable today, Skukul, to give us your red figures. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Police, General Bheki Cele, the DM of the Police Service, Mr. Kasam Matale, the National Commissioner of the Police Service, General Masimula, the Deputy National Commissioner Policing, General Musigili, colleagues and members of the media. Good afternoon. I'll be presenting sitting down because the length of the court is not sufficient enough or long enough for me to stand at the podium. And I hope I'll be forgiven for that because it is not my ideal way of presenting, because somehow I thought standing up is a sign of respecting the audience. But with that said, let me take you through the Q3 crime statistics that had been reported to the South African police covering the period the 1st of October 2022 up to the 31st of December 2022, which is the Q3 crime statistics. I'll simply go into the table as we know, as the norm, that we give an overview of the crime picture that has been reported within this current particular reference period. For the murders, we had recorded 7,555 murders, an increase of 669. Sexual offences, we recorded 15,545, an increase of 1,357. Attempted murder, 7,016, an increase of 1,378. Assault GBH, 50,582, an increase of 4,069. Common assault, 52,741, an increase of 5,660. Common robbery, 12,752, an increase of 2,228. Robbery with aggravating circumstances, 37,829, an increase of 3,686. Overall, the contact crimes, which is the sum total of the crime that I've just read out, increased by 19,067 from 164,953 in the 2021 Q3 to 184,020 in Q4. Then the breakdown of the sexual offences, which we have already indicated there. When we break them down here into the component crimes that make up sexual offences, starting with the rape, we had an increase of rapes of 1,104, sexual assault an increase of 85, attempted sexual offences an increase of 239, and we had a decrease of contact sexual offences of 71. Then the subcategories of robbery aggravating circumstances, which we've already indicated there. Here we thus break down the component crimes which make up this particular subcategory. Starting with the carjacking, we had an increase of 153, robbery at residential premises an increase of 496, and we had a decrease in the robbery at non-residential premises. And the three crimes that I have just read out are collectively termed trio crimes, and collectively they have increased by 494. Then we had a decrease of robbery of cash in transit of 3 counts, of bank robberies a decrease of 5, truck hijacking an increase of 44. Then when we compare taking into consideration the total population of the particular of the country using the 2021 mid-year population estimate, so that we can be in a position to compute what are called per capita crimes, that is only for crimes that are against a person. Using that series, we see that we had a per capita murder of 12.4 per 100,000, rapes 20.3 per 100,000, attempted murder 11.5 per 100,000, assault GBH 82.8 per 100,000, common assault 86.4 per 100,000, common robbery 20.9 per 100,000. This per 100,000 indicates that if you were to take the total population of the country and divide it into equal portions of 100,000, the possibility of a person ending up being a victim of a murder is 20.4 for every 100,000 people in the population. Then continuing with that slide, we see that for contact-related crimes we had a decrease of 32, malicious damage to property an increase of 598, and collectively the contact-related crimes increased by 566. Property-related crime, the category increased by 6,554 from 91,450 to 98,004. Then you can see the component crime that make up that particular broad category of property-related crimes, and we had a decrease only in terms of theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle of 325. Then other serious crimes, we had an increase of 10,760 from 101,820 to 112,580. Collectively, there is 17 community reported crimes increased by 36,945. Then the crime detected as a result of police action, where the desired direction of change is an increase. We had an increase in terms of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. This implies that the police have removed more illegal firearms and ammunition from the community, increasing that particular crime count by 545. Drug-related crimes increased by 6,451. Driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs decreased by 2,233. Sexual offenses increased by 798. And the sum total of crimes detected as a result of police action increased by 5,561, resulting in a 10.2% increase. Now, this just gives a graphical presentation of the 17 community reported crimes for the 3 months that are under review. We had increases across the 3 months of October, November, and December. Each month of the 3 months respectively increasing by 6,649 in October, November 8,195. Then in December we had an increase of the 17 community reported crimes of 14,101, and all these provinces have recorded increases when you take into consideration the 17 community reported crimes. Then when you look at the last line there, which gives you the contribution per province to the total of the 17 community reported crimes, you see that the highest province that had the highest number of 17 community reported crimes was the province of Gauteng with 27.1, and then the Western Cape is the second highest with 18.9. Then the top 30 stations for the 17 community reported crimes. In column 1, we had the position when you take the whole stations in the country, and then in column 2 is the top station when you only consider the province in which that particular station is located. So the RSA position is when you take into consideration all the stations in South Africa, and the second column is only for the province in which that particular station is located. So using that analogy, concentrating on the RSA position, we see that Cape Town Central is the station with the highest number of crimes. The second highest station with the number of crimes is the Mitchell's Plain, Johannesburg Central at number 3, Durban Central at number 4, Park Road at number 5, Rustenburg at number 6. And one thing that you can realize here is that most of these stations are within the metropolitan areas. And all these top 9 stations have recorded increases when you take into consideration the 17 community reported crimes. And now moving on to the subcategories, starting with contact crimes. These are the crimes that include murder, attempted murder, sexual assault, assault GBH, assault common, robberies, etc. We had recorded increases in the month of October of 8,384, in November 2,690, in December 7,993, and all the provinces have recorded increases within the contact crimes. And the highest contributing province is the province of Gauteng with 27.2, and the Western Cape second with 17.3. These are the top 30 stations. Again, we look at the position at the national level and also at the provincial level. The highest station at the national level is Johannesburg Central, number 2 is Mfuleni, number 3 Alexander, number 4 Nyanga, and number 5 is Tembisa, and all the top 5 stations have recorded increases in terms of the contact crimes. Now, when you look at the causative factors in terms of the crimes that we have selected, that is your murder, attempted murder, and assault GBH, from a sample of 7,337, we see that the arguments were the most cause of causative factor that has been indicated as a causative factor for the murder. We had 1,164 murders attributable to arguments, misunderstanding, road rage, and provocation. And at the same time, the same phenomenon was attributable to 19,434 assault GBH cases. Vigilantism or mob justice was the second highest attributable factor with 536. Retaliation or revenge for murder at number 3 with 413. Robberies 403. Gang-related 272, of which the majority was in the province of the Western Cape. Tax-related were 88, and the rest of the causative factors can be determined from that particular table. Then the place of occurrence. One thing that we need to emphasize in this slide is that the place of occurrence is simply that, is the place of occurrence. It does not necessarily imply that the people that were murdered, like for instance at the petrol stations, are necessarily petrol attendants. It simply indicates where the body was retrieved or where the person was killed. If you take this analogy and look at educational institutions where we had 12 people murdered, this does not necessarily imply that all the 12 people that were murdered were school-going children or learners or teachers, although some of the victims were indeed learners. For instance, we had a recent case whereby a person who had put a knife at the principal's neck was shot when the other teacher was at the school, fortunately had a knife, and then he eliminated that person. The scene would have been taken as a school, but it does not imply that the person who was killed is a learner. So this is just the place where the murder or where the body was recovered. We had public places attributable to 3,467 murders, robbery, residences of the perpetrator, including residents known by victims, 2,003 murders, places where alcohol is sold, liquor outlets, shebeens, taverns and pubs, 304 murders, business premises, 118 murders, tuck shops, 109, agricultural land farm plots, 86, mining area, 22, then educational facilities, 12, dumping sites, 12, petrol stations, 12, prison cells, 19. Then crimes against women and children, starting on the left with the women, we had 199 more women killed in this quarter compared to the previous quarter, 396 women attempted murders more, 1,579 more assault GBH against women. Then looking at the children, starting with the murder, covering both boys and girls between the ages of 0 and 17, we had a decrease in terms of the murders of 33. We had an increase in attempted murders of 94, and assault GBH a decrease of 9. Then the graphical representation, we had increases across all the 3 months of the quarter. The only province that had recorded a decrease in terms of the murder was the province of Limpopo, which is 97 counts less when compared to the previous period. And in terms of the contribution, the province with the highest contributor to the murders is the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which contributes 24.1% to the total of the murders reported in the country. The second highest is Gauteng with 22.8. The third highest is the Eastern Cape with 19.1. That is when you only take into consideration the total number of people murdered. However, when you bring into context the total population within the respective provinces and do your per capita murder, you see that the pattern changes, and the highest number of per capita murders are reported in the Eastern Cape province with 22.5 per 100,000. The second highest is the Western Cape with 16.5 per 100,000, KwaZulu-Natal 15.6 per 100,000, and Gauteng at number 4 with 10.6 per 100,000. Limpopo is the province with the lowest per capita murder of 4.4 people per 100,000. Then this is a graphical representation of the same slide that we had indicated, indicating the respective provinces, the direction of change of the murders, either green if it is a decrease and red when it is an increase, and the size of the circles indicate the per capita within that particular province. And here we have the mid-year population estimates of the respective provinces, which you can then use to compute the per capita murder for the respective provinces. These were obtained from the 2021 mid-year population estimates provided by Statistics South Africa. Then the top 30 stations, we are led by Mfuleni at number 1, number 2 is Inanda, 3 Delft, 4 places Lyre, 5 Nyanga, and all the top 5 stations have recorded increases in terms of the matters that had been reported when compared to the similar period in the previous quarter. Then the causative factors, we have already indicated these. This year is simply indicates the breakdown in terms of the province. We've seen that 1,164 matters were attributable to arguments and misunderstanding, and the leading province was KZN, with 317 matters being attributable to arguments. Similarly, KZN led in the vigilantism and mob justice. From the 536 matters attributable to mob justice, KZN was attributable to 118. Revenge and retaliation from the 413, this time around it was the Western Cape which had the highest number of matters attributable to revenge with 166. Like I indicated in the previous slide, gang-related was mostly prevalent in the province of Western Cape. Of the 272 matters from this sample of 7,337, 229 of the matters were attributable to the province of Western Cape. The second highest province was the Eastern Cape with 23. The rest can be seen from this particular table. We also looked in terms of the multiple matters. That will be instances whereby more than one person is killed in one incident. The column at the top, or the row at the top, indicates the number of victims from 2 to 7, and then the rows indicate the respective provinces. So when you read, for instance, the Eastern Cape with 1, it indicates that there was an incident in the Eastern Cape where 7 people were killed in one incident. Similarly, there was an incident in the Gauteng province where 7 people were killed. For 6 victims, we had 6 victims in the Eastern Cape in one incident. Gauteng also had 1. KwaZulu-Natal also had 1. And then for 5, we had 1 in the Eastern Cape, 1 in KwaZulu-Natal, resulting in 5 victims incidents. So in total, we had 665 people who were killed, and 294 dockets were registered. Circumstances around the multiple matters, I'll touch only on the first 2, whereby we had 1 incident of 7 people killed in Beachy. The circumstances was that armed men stormed into the families' homes and demanded the burial funds that had allegedly been dropped off earlier as they were preparing to bury one family member. The suspects entered the house, demanded the money, shot and killed 7 family members between the ages of 29 and 68. Clearly you can see how people are heartless. When the family is bereaved, preparing to bury one person, they come and added additional 7 people just for the money that should have been or could have been used to bury one person. Now the family has to scrape up and look for additional money to bury additional 7 victims. Robbery related was again in Ennerdale, where 7 people were killed. The 7 people that were shot dead, it happened when the 4 suspects tried to rob street vendors who were selling chicken feet. The vendors resisted, threw stones at the suspects. The suspect drove off, came back and shot at the vendors and the bystanders. 7 people were killed in that incident, and also 5 attempted murders were recorded in that particular incident. Then when you look at the types of weapons that are used in the commission of the murders, we see that 3,144 people were killed with firearms. This does not imply that there were 3,144 firearms that were killed. It indicates that there were 3,144 people who were killed through being shot. Then the second highest was knives. The minister has indicated that in his speech, so I will not labor much on this slide. Then murder of police officials. We had 1 less police officer killed in this current quarter compared to the previous quarter, from 27 in 2021 to 26 in 2022, resulting in 1 case less. and the increase was in the month of December, where 2 more police officers were killed when compared to the previous quarter. Murders in the farming community, the sum total or the difference between last year and this year is 0, where 11 farmers were killed last year and 11 farming community members were killed in the current year, resulting in 0. And these murders happened together with 6 robberies at residential premises, 1 rape and 1 stock theft. Then the rapes, we had increases across all the 3 months, October, November and December, of 630, 16 in November, 458 in December, and the only province that recorded a decrease was the province of Limpopo with 97 counts less, and the highest contributing province in terms of the rapes was Gauteng with 19.9, and then KwaZulu-Natal, the second highest, with 18.8. The top 30 station, or the top 5 of the top 30, are led by Inanda, Lusikisiki, number 2, Harare, number 3, Toyando, number 4, and Umlazi at number 5. And of these top 5 stations, only Lusikisiki and Umlazi recorded decreases of 10 and 14 respectively. This is the graphical representation of the per capita rapes. Again, the analogy is the same. The red indicates the direction of change, and the green indicates that there was a decrease, and the size of the circle indicates the per capita for that particular province. And again, we have the total number of population within that particular province as estimated by the 2021 mid-year population estimates. The only province that recorded a decrease per capita in terms of the rapes was Mpumalanga, with 16.0 per 100,000 of the rapes. Places of occurrence, we had most places of occurrence where the rapes were attributable was the residence of the perpetrator or the victim, which was indicated at 5,935, like the minister indicated. These women and men were raped at the residence of the perpetrator or the victim, meaning that the perpetrators were the people that were known to the victims. Public places were attributable to 1,917 rapes. We also had the phenomenon of abandoned buildings, where 99 of the rapes happened in abandoned buildings, and most of these were in the province of Limpopo, with 25 of the rapes happening at such buildings, and the Eastern Cape with 21. Then the particular slide at the top bottom indicates the use of alcohol and drugs, and the bottom indicates the place whereby alcohol is being used, is being sold. We had 315 where the perpetrator or the victim has used alcohol in 315 of the murders, and 15 of the murders the perpetrator or the victim had used drugs in 15 of those murders. Then 304 murders happened at the place where alcohol is being sold, that is a tavern, a shebeen, a pub, a nightclub, etc. Then we had also 82 rapes happening at places where alcohol is being sold. Then at educational premises, we had 49 rapes having taken place at educational facilities or schools. We also had 10 murders happening at schools. We had 3 rapes happening at tertiary institution and 1 murder at a tertiary institution, 2 rapes at special schools and 0 murder at special schools, then 2 rapes at the daycare or aftercare center. Then domestic violence, which is used as a proxy for GBV, we had 305 murders attributable to domestic violence. That would be instances whereby there is some kind of a domestic relationship between the victim and the perpetrator, either as a brother, a father, ex-husband, ex-girlfriend, current boyfriend, etc. Of these victims that were murdered, 157 were female and 148 were male. We also had 1,191 rapes that were attributable to domestic violence. Of these, 1,128 were female and 63 were male. The rest of the crimes can be seen from this particular slide. Then the subcategories of robbery aggravating circumstances, starting with carjacking, we had an increase of 49 in carjacking and 106 in October. The decrease in December was 2. Gauteng, Mpumalanga and Northern Cape recorded decreases, the other provinces increases. Then the top stations were Nyanga at number 1, Harare number 2, KwaZulu number 3, Olivenhout-Bosch number 4, Ivory Park number 5, and of this top 5, Harare was the one that recorded a decrease in carjacking. The types of vehicles that were mostly hijacked were sedans, hatchback and coupe, 2,814. Buggies was the second highest with 1,697, station wagon 390, and then minibus 257 incidents. Robbery at residential premises, the only province that recorded a decrease was the province of Western Cape, and across all the 3 months making up the quarter, we had the increases of 122, 214, 160 for the 3 months of making up the quarter. Then we had top stations for robbery at rest: Plessis Lair number 1, Kwaduguza number 2, Tembisa number 3, Olivenhout-Bosch number 4, Mondio at number 5. Then non-residential, we had decreases in the Eastern Cape, Free State, Limpopo, Mpumalanga and the Western Cape, and overall for the country we had a decrease of 155 cases of robbery at non-residential premises. The top stations are Johannesburg Central, Pinetown, Thohoyandou, Kempton Park and Witbank, making the top 5. Cash in transit, we had decreases in the month of October, of November and December of 4 and 5 respectively, and overall we had a decrease of 3 counts less, from 60 in the previous quarter to 57 in the current quarter, and the highest contributing province to cash in transit robberies was Gauteng with 47.4. Then these are the types of robberies that happened. You can see that most of the Gauteng robberies was cross pavement, and then we had 8 when the armored vehicle was on the road. Truck hijacking, we had decreases in Free State, Limpopo, Northwest and the Western Cape. The top stations mostly are in Gauteng, led by Mpumalanga, Delmas number 2, Orange Farm 3, Alberton 4, Jamestown and 5, Kempton Park. Then we also looked at kidnapping. That will be instances where kidnapping was the means to an end, not where the kidnapping was used as a modus operandi, like for instance when the kidnapping was also done with the carjacking, whereby they kidnap the victims so that they can stop them from reporting the crime. We only looked at incidents where the kidnapping was the means to an end itself. Of these kidnappings, 128 ransom was demanded, and most of this was in Gauteng with 76. We also had 12 human trafficking kidnappings, and 6 was in Gauteng, 23 kidnappings which were attributable to extortion, and 10 were in the province of Gauteng. Then this simply shows the graphical representation of the same information we just shown in the previous slide. Then we also had instances whereby the resources of the police were diverted to go and police other incidents. We had the resources diverted mostly in KZN to police peaceful events of 423 and Gauteng 403, and those that were deemed unrest, we had 90 in KZN and 97 in the province of Gauteng. Again, this does not include instances whereby the resources, especially because we are coming from the matric exams, where the police were also asked to escort question papers to the respective schools during the various sessions where the matrics were writing exams. So this added to the diversion of the police resources to go and police question papers over and above festivals and peaceful and unrest related situations. Then this table simply gives a summary of all the provinces, including the country as a whole, whereby we had this one we talked about. For example, the direction of change, if it is red, it means an increase, then the green means a decrease, and when you look at the matters It means that Eastern Cape had 1,501 murders, which was more than the previous quarter. Free State had 275, which was more than the previous quarter. The province that had recorded decreases in murder was Limpopo, which is 216, which is less than the previous quarter. Then this is the same table giving you a summary of all the murders that have been reported. What is also worth noting is that when you look at crime detected as a result of police action, all the provinces recorded increases in terms of detecting illegal possession of firearms and ammunition, meaning they have removed more firearms and ammunition from the wrongful hands. They also made more arrests in terms of drug-related crimes, and also more sexual offenses were detected in this particular period. And the only province that recorded a decrease was the province of the Northern Cape. Then also there was a challenge in terms of driving under the influence of liquor and alcohol, where the only province that recorded an increase was the province of the Western Cape. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, Minister of the Police, that is my sad story for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Sikokonya, for that overview. In fact, very thorough breakdown of the crime figures this afternoon. So it is a time where we do take some questions from members of the media. And as you know, please do identify yourself, the media house that you represent, and of course, the question which you choose to pose to who do you prefer to answer this question. By a show of hands, can I please just see some, okay. And then just to indicate, will we be reading some questions from WhatsApp, Brigadier Mate? All right. Okay, I'll start with you, ma'am.
Lula Mamaja, SABC. Minister, with the release of the stats, political parties are going to react, and COPE has already reacted, saying that the president must fire you. What would be your response to that? Secondly, yesterday when the minister in the presidency was briefing the media, post-cabinet briefing, he acknowledged that government is not doing well when it comes to crime. Also, if you can comment on that, looking at the stats that are being released today. Thank you.
Thank you, SABC. Anybody else? Okay. ENCA.
Thank you, Aviam Tila from ENCA. It's a sad story indeed. All the contact crimes went up. Nothing looks good. Crime is worse, Minister. Can government concede that it's failing to deal with crime in the country? And also following up on my colleague's question about the political parties, EFF suggests that you work in cahoots with criminals. What do you have to say about that? Also on the death of AKA, maybe an update on where the investigations are. Are you closer to arresting the perpetrators, or where you are with the investigations in that regard? While I'm in KwaZulu-Natal, also the mass shootings, Minister, that we see in KwaZulu-Natal are concerned. People are afraid to go out because of what we're seeing. Also, they're rampant in provinces like the Eastern Cape as well. Maybe an indication on what you're doing, Minister. And also the construction mafia in the Western Cape. What are you doing around dealing with that?
Thank you, Aviwa. What I failed to mention, and pardon me, was that the Minister and the Deputy Minister and the National Commissioner are joined by a full contingent of the Provincial Commissioners that are with us today. So I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to take those questions and take you through those details of those specific questions around the provinces. We'll take those questions now, Minister, and then we'll take the second round if there is that need. Thank you, Minister.
Lulama, with the first question, you are crying at the wrong funeral. When you ask the minister if the president will fire, ask the president. Unfortunately, he is in Addis Ababa today. but you can't come and ask the minister the thing if the president will fire you. That will be my answer. I did see those running things after the briefing by the minister. I asked him what did he mean. He said he didn't say it. Maybe you can ask him. He did say, of which I agree with him, that we have a problem with crime, but we are putting our ducks on row to deal with crime. We have mentioned we have mentioned those ducks in the row as we were reading the speech. We have employed 10,000 police with the previous year, financial year, when we are employing 10,000 this year. That 10,000 will make 20,000. We should be added at 176,000 that is there now. And this is 2023 with 63 million South Africans. We'll have 196,000 police. 2010, we were 50,000, we had 196,000 police. You can begin to work on your ratio, which means in the year 2023, we would not have made figures of the year 2010. Forget about the figures of 2023. Well, I hear people arguing. Whenever you go to the countries, especially like Asia and China, every corner you find a police standing there. Visibility is part of fighting crime. There is no visibility in South Africa. People will always ask, where are the police? It's because for last 2 years, except the previous year, there was zero recruitment because of the COVID. But even before that, for some reason, which we are very grateful that has been corrected, for some reason, whenever there was the money to be taken to go to social departments, your health, your education, your social development, that money was moved from the security cluster, especially both the police and the defense and the home affairs. So that was a milk cow for shifting all the time. So at least now it has been realized, hence that trend is being reversed. So that is one. But secondly, there's been no building of police stations all the time going forward. That would be both the budget, but also the involvement of the sister departments, because police, they don't build their buildings. Other departments, especially public works, must maintain and build the police building. I can tell you that sometimes the money of building, we send it back because those police stations are not built. So those are the things that we'll have to fix. But also the corruption, definitely it is the part. We can't run away to say where the police get in the cohorts. Up to this point of view, I want one person that will show a grain of evidence that the minister has been the part of working with criminals. While I know that the criminals are using some loud-mouthed politicians to shout things because we are too close for comfort to some of the politicians. The police are too close for comfort of some politicians, so they shout first, so that when things happen, so I want to end there on that. I'm not going to explain further. I did say that my grandma told me that when the pig takes your banana and runs to the pigsty, you don't follow the pig because you'll be muddy like a pig. So I'll end there for now on that one. But this corruption thing is unfortunate that because the police are the cold face of criminality, everybody complains about the police. Today, we gave the summons to the judge. We are arresting the judge. in one of the provinces. Will be appearing in court very soon. So, he's a judge. Now, Tulare, the judge here, as a Coctanian, he did say there is corruption of the police that are absorbed, especially with the anti-gang unit. But he did not end there. You go and read paragraph 70 of his pronouncement. He went on to say, structures like judiciary, like prosecution, like magistrate, he used the word, are also penetrated by criminality. But especially media and opposition, when they talk about this, they talk about police. They don't quote Tulare to the end. That's why I'm reminding you that the judge will be arrested together with some attorneys for abusing the trust money, for corruption. Just watch this space. So the corruption is along the cluster, of which all of us, we must work on it. As the police, we gave you the number that the police that have been arrested and fired in 3 months' time. I have answered the Kohut one. The Provincial Commission of KZN is here. He'll tell you the story, Ska AKA. Mass shootings is a worry, I wouldn't lie. But what you are not also adding is that we do arrest. We have good results in arresting people. One of the highly publicized was Nomzamo in Orlando, where 17 people were killed. I'm sure you saw yesterday that people were marching in one of the magistrates' court in Gauteng because those people are appearing there. We have. They did that on the same night with what happened at Kwapata in Maritzburg. Those people have been arrested. The same night, the same time with what happened of the mass murder, Kwanobuke, those people have been arrested. In Beatty, the 7 people that were arrested, as explained, those people are in custody that we found in the bush, 7 of them. So we are responding. It's a pity that indeed the life is lost. But it's not true that police are doing nothing after that. Those are the areas where we have responded. And I want to believe that we'll continue working with the communities, because the communities on this one help very much in dealing with these matters. The mafias, President explained, we have created 20 special units to deal with this specialized crime around the country in the regions and districts where this crime is prevalent. That would be your zamazamas, that would be your mafia, your construction mafia, that would be your kidnapping, and that would be this thing, COPA and all that. 3-4 days ago, you saw that police, I think it's in Pinter, where they arrested people with 5 million COPA. It's because, and the other special one is your ESCOM. In ESCOM, we have arrested people there, and they are in court. People that they inflict real hurt to ESCOM not to be able to produce what is happening there. That national commissioner, deputy, is running the operation where 17 people have been arrested. People that specialize in stealing the coal. They take the coal from the mine, supposed to go to the plant. They open their plant called farm coal plants. and that they load the wrong thing and take it to the plant, including the black painted stones instead of coal. And they charge there. After that, they take the coal, correct coal, and they export it. We have arrested 17 of them. There are former police on them, there are former managers and farmers who procure their farms to be the farms of this. So we are. That includes your mafia, which several people have been arrested there. By the way, maybe people they forget that the very famous Keke was arrested for this and he has been found guilty. I think he has been sentenced for 3 months. They keep postponing. It looks like the guy is very strong in catching sentence. But there are other people that have been arrested around this. So we are responding as the police. The last one that I want to say here, we want to insist. Police will not win alone. Hence, the cabinet has passed the document that is called Integrated Security and Violent Crime Prevention Strategy. That everybody must do his piece. For instance, I went to the meeting in Hanover Park here at 11 on a Tuesday. There were more school kids in that meeting than parents. Now, those kids are open market for gangsters to recruit from them. They should be at school, and the SDSD should be taking responsibility to make those kids. All of us here, we talk ease with paras, that there are paras and all that, they are all over. Those are kids that go for pickpocketing. Those are kids that they step. Most of the people that died out of knife, they die from that category of people that are supposed to be with their parents, that are supposed to be school and all. So it needs to spread. One thing that will never eradicate criminality if it's not done is an employment of everybody, or the employment of. So this question that you ask from the police, ask it across the board. When you and me should know there is COVID-19 settlement here, there is a lockdown, there is sanitizer. They all came during the COVID. If you go, I have been in COVID-19. When you go to COVID-19, you can't walk straight because it's check on top of check. You need to walk sideways. There is no electricity, there is no ablution, there is no water, there is no housing, there is no life there. When somebody is killed, police would not be able to report to say which direction you're supposed to go. So the environmental design is an issue, is a big issue for the police. If no street lights, no roads, no numbers, where do you expect the police to go when they are called on those places? So it's something that we are talking because there is this document, and this document will have to be implemented across the board for the crime to go down. So maybe, where's
His coming, Minister. He is here. I just wanted to check if the National Commissioner wanted to add something, especially around the Economic Infrastructure Task Teams. General Masimula, I know that is something that you are looking into. Are you able to use the microphone?
Thanks, Lorenzo. We do have teams, as the Minister said. We establish teams in 18 districts, and we are busy resourcing them to the fullest. Yeah, they're not yet there where we want them to be, but we are busy resourcing them, and we think they will be, before the end of this year, they'll be running smooth and tackling the crime in that space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. With regard to
Come in. Because the mic's
so you can hear.
At the mics.
The mics.
Bafuna ukukhuluma kakuhle. Ungabaleki.
Thanks, Minister. I'm sure the South Africans will know that we can't discuss in details the cases that we're investigating, especially because the only people that's supposed to get feedback is the family of the deceased. We cannot be telling them through the media on what is happening with our investigations. We have not arrested anyone yet. We have, however, interviewed a number of people, both in KZN as well as in Gauteng. Many people that we've obtained statements and we've collected cell phones. We are busy downloading some of those phones. We have collected quite a number of videos from different CCTV cameras that we could find that will assist us on the day. We have received our ballistic report from forensic that is completed. So there's quite a lot of other work that the team is still busy with. The viewing of the videos is still continuing. The downloading of some of the cell phones and the analysis of the material that is there is continuing. So we're still putting our evidence together in order for us to be able to have a solid case going forward. The identification of those that were seen on videos that you might have seen on social media, it's something that we cannot disclose now, but we've got an idea as to who might those people be. So we are continuing the investigation. So that's all I can say for now, Minister. Thank you.
Just one from me, because it's a question that has been all over in social media. Why Cele didn't go to the why Cele didn't go to the crime scene where AKA was killed. The other journalist asked the same different question in the same sentence. Cele goes everywhere instead of allowing the commission to go. But why didn't you go on this one? The same journalist in the same. Well, we don't really go for cameras. There are many places where we go without cameras. But on this one, mostly when we go there, we're invited by communities, but also to find and link up with communities. There was no need to go into this one. Because when one received the information at 11 p.m. that this has happened, this provincial commissioner, we were together on the phone all the time. And then talking about the team that he has put and all that, led by Brigadier Cele, as one of the best police we have. You remember Brigadier Cele broke the case of the young woman that was killed here in the university. He's one of the top investigators that is dealing with that. That's one. The next morning, I was phoned by the family, requesting few things to be done. And one was on the phone with the family until 6 Saturday, when the postmortem was finished. And Sunday, spoke to the family. I spoke at length with the father of AKA. So why would I have to go to the crime scene when we've taken on board the family, and family very much satisfied? I've got beautiful message from the family here. I'm not going to read it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful message coming from the family, coming from father of AKA. So we just don't go because we love to go, especially that Setewin is a beautiful road. Those that they know Itegu, they know that road. It's a road that you go there for pleasure most of the time. It's a road that had this bloody dot, which is a bad that it happened. But whoever was wondering why I was not there, because anything that has been put me there has been finalized with the family. I was just thanks.
Thank you for the clarity, Minister. Let's wrap this press conference up with maybe the last round. I'm going to take fresh questions first before I take some follow-ups. I'll start with you, Natalie, and Llewellyn on that. Go ahead, Natalie.
Minister, two questions. Natalie Malkas from Newsroom Africa. The first question is, what impact load shedding has had on policing? Has that perhaps been one of the contributing factors to an increase in house robberies or business robberies? Commissioner, on what the gang strategy looks like. Gang violence seems to be almost target isolated to the Western Cape. Is there a gang strategy, or should residents of the province just assume quarter on quarter, year on year, there are going to be lives lost as a result?
All right, Llewellyn.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, everybody in front. I just have one question. It's just apart from the, I'm Llewellyn Prince from Nether Kirindunda. Apart from the deployment of additional police to counter crime in South Africa, as well as the specialist units that were spoken about to counter specific economic crimes, what immediate interventions does the police have to kind of counter the murder and the rape? Because that is the two crimes that I believe every man or woman in South Africa fears the most. What immediate intervention is there to counter the high murder rate and rape rate in the country? And does the police have a plan to against this two, especially this two type of crimes? Thank you, Minister.
If you allow me, Minister, to just take those two follow-up questions. Go ahead, Abu, and SABC, you'll be the last person to ask a question.
Thank you, Abu, again. Minister, you mentioned that there are not enough boots on the ground and that the police stations are being neglected. Would then that be a deliberate neglect of crime by government, which then goes to that question again of government conceding that it's not doing enough to curb crime, or it's failing in grappling with crime? Second one around Namshamshwa, it's almost a year later now. Maybe an update on whether there are any possible arrests or where we are with the murder of Namshamshwa.
Thank you, Aviwe. SABC.
Minister, on the raid that is happening at homes of the victims or culprits, you are saying that there's a need for a broader conversation. What kind of conversation are you anticipating? What should be done? Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Minister.
Lulama, as a sister, I thought we'd come with a strategy. What must we do when 62% of these women are raped in their own houses by the people they know, fathers, brothers, cousins, uncles? In Kainisha, we arrested somebody who raped, is a 46-year-old person, raped her daughter of 6 years for 4 years. Really? And you ask police, what are they doing? It cannot be. It cannot be. The family issue on these things. They're not going to tell me. I don't want to pass the blame and all that. But you would ask the question, if this young 6-year-old baby was raped for 4 years, nobody really saw that it was happening. Things like those. As we're sitting here, there is a Cleo Diko, who has not been buried, found completely finished under the bed of the boyfriend. Where you want to tell me that she was killed and there for 4 months? Nobody suspects, nobody smells, nothing. In that household, really, it has to be somebody even out of that house not giving the story to say 4 months staying with a dead body. You are not going to tell me that there is no foul smell that is happening. So that should be a broader one, Lulama. That should be all of us. Maybe it's exactly in this rating where the blame game should be eliminated completely, and all as a nation come together and say, what do we do, and find the answers, at least on that one. we do have strategies. That's why we are calling on everybody, churches, everybody. Twice now, this is a province where we called Damadot. I don't know if you were there in Kailisha, when those men, they packed the hall, Kailisha. They were packed. We said, tell us, Madot, though others they still say were provoked, these women wear short skirts. There were men who were saying that. So you could see that there's a long way to cover. But there were many men say, Madot, let's talk to ourselves. I think that would be the one. President did raise it, especially the school issue, the young boys. As I'm sitting here in Nongoma, this girl who was her first day at Nongoma, at one school, got in a toilet, first day raped by 5 boys at school. The very first day at school, raped by 5 boys. And when police they come, I'm told that the principal said it's not our duty and all that. As a teacher, there is one thing I know, that I'm immediately a parentis loco. I'm responsible for the child that will leave me at school. So if it is looked as a compartment of police alone, it can't be spread to say it's a responsibility of society and all of us. We're not going to deal with it in a very correct way. So that question, maybe that's what we need to spread. And I'm glad that there are quite more NGOs and other people saying that let's relook at this one. It cannot be the police alone. I read your statement here. I read the statement. The prisons are 40% overpopulated. 40% overpopulated. We gave you the numbers of lifers here. We can't put everybody on life. We need to talk, we need to say to South Africans, human beings, please behave like human beings. There must be programs. We do have those programs, but it can't be police alone, the churches and all that. That will have to be. You always do the gang. Where is he?
Nang.
Yeah, Nang. is going to counter.
There was a question, Minister, on the impact of load shedding.
The first one. You know, the criminals, they understand the load shedding roster better than us. They do. For 3-4 days, I've been really angry because I didn't have it. When I was watching Barca, no, not Barca. When I was watching PSG, I was playing with whoever I was playing with Munich. Nyampo. As the match starting, but I was more angry as I was watching Man City and Arsenal. Nyampo. So yesterday I was told that it's at 8, but I watched the match of Barca and United until finish. It was 10. I can tell you they know better. And they are utilizing that to the maximum. They are utilizing, these provincial commissioners, they can tell you that our murder rate has moved on those things. Housebreaking rate has moved to that area. Stealing has moved to that area. Unfortunately, even stealing of the infrastructure of the electricity, by the time the electricity comes back, the infrastructure is no more there. So it does give a lot of impact on the crime issues going forward. So you would know that because it's even worse here in Western Cape. They really, I hope they don't take the roster from you to those guys. What counter? I can't remember the counter on the. I have responded to the counter on the on the rape. On the murder, what do we do with that? Again, I've explained here that while everybody is complaining about illegal firearms, the number that is killed outside firearms is quite high, which means South Africans, even if guns are not there, they'll still find a way of killing you. And which means we also have to work on that. But we are also working in the cluster because there will be issues with sentencing and all that kind of stuff, with some paroles. Sometimes, without blaming the sister organization, we will find that people that are repeat offenders, even on the serious case because of parole. But we are working on that. Again, we have retreated as a cluster. We are retreating again to work together to make sure that we are working on that. Failing, no, Abiu. No, we can do better. But I've made the point. If prisons are 40% over, which means somebody is doing the work. Is it enough? No, it's not enough. We can still do better. But people do get arrested. They are sentenced. I'm sure you saw sentences yesterday of Cleveland, which was one of the top topic for a very long time at Cleveland. You saw those happening. You saw the young lady Van Beek. You saw you saw the not even a young lady, a baby. You saw the sentence there. What happened? One went to see the parents and all. So there are responses to these things. It's not correct that nothing is being done, but indeed we can do much better. But more of us, as President will simply put it, let's not leave nobody behind. If we all work on unison on this matter, including the media sometimes. You know, I saw the report of Cleveland yesterday. Was 30 seconds. You can't say that it was so topical, the issue of Cleveland, where 21 people were killed, where 8 people are given life sentence. I think it was 15 seconds. So the report of events happening and the response is not similar, is not the same. Last week or 2 weeks, there was a crash in Gauteng in Ebrulin. And it was reported, we saw the kind on it. It was not reported that the same people encountered the police and police shot, kills 4 of them and arrested 6. That was not on the same level with the report of happening on the thing. Nomzamo, where 17 people were killed, that was the world issue. But today, is reported about the people who are marching to court to fight that those people should not be killed. It's not reported about that those people. To report that is by the way that those people are responsible for that. You do get this serious imbalance of reporting of the event happening as if no response. I'm very sure that the BG, those 7 people that were killed, who were there, were full, there were journalists, everybody. But today that those 5 people are in custody, you don't hear that. So maybe also that the responses that things happen can help really without fighting, that will help. Thanks.
Loud and clear, Minister. I think the biggest takeaway from the speech as well is that what you've said is someone somewhere somehow knows something. With those words, could you please call on the Provincial Commissioner of the Western Cape to maybe just wrap up the question around a gang strategy? I think you need to come in the front, General. A gang strategy, if there is one, and what does it look like?
Was the advocate?
Oh, and colleagues, the Minister's opening remarks, as well as the full presentation of the crime stats, are available on our website, and they are also on our social media pages, as well as our WhatsApp, that we communicate all our information as the SAPS and Police Ministry. Over here,
Thank you, Minister. Is there an anti-gang strategy? The answer is yes. There is a national one, there is a provincial anti-gang strategy that in the Western Cape we all correctly all stakeholders are involved. You may recall that there's quite a number of gang groupings that we've taken down, which those cases are currently in court, and we're still going to take many other gangs down within this year. But the challenge now is the breeding ground that is there for the gangs. As you take up this leadership, then you will see the flare or the increase in gang violence. Then the fight would be over leadership and the theft. So what now we should be looking at is, if we're going to be taking down a certain gang grouping, we should be finding a way, an alternative way of filling that space with other role players. For example, just make an example where the gangs are seen to be providing services that the government should be providing. Now, when you go in that space as the police enforcing the law, then you get attacked because you are in the eyes of those that are getting services from those gangsters. You are actually disrupting a good person. So we've got to shift our mind to look at that alternative governance and kill that part. In other words, the other stakeholders, for example, social development and others, looking at those people that need help. For example, people who have got no food, children who can't get to school because of funds, and then they're providing funds for those. That is where now we've got to go to. Look at the way, if we take down this group today, and then something that has to come to fill that gap so that we undermine the part where the gangs are doing the breeding ground. That will also include the managing of the school dropouts, because those are the breeding grounds for the gangs. If we can just tackle that from the primary, the secondary schools, then we will be making it. That also the early interventions that the minister was talking about. That is where we are now. But we'll continue with our disruptive operation, dismantling, disabling the gangs everywhere we find them. But most of those, sometimes they take time because they are more organized. You've got to get specialized skills in investigation to take down the whole enterprise or group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Again, someone, somewhere, somehow knows something. Let's spread that slogan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for always honoring our media invite. And I do bring this press conference to a close. Thank you.